What's up, guys? I never wanted to make a video like this, ever. But last night, we lost Alexia.
What's poppin', guys? As you guys know, my girlfriend Alexia just passed away in a tragic accident, guys. I cannot get over her, guys. I miss her so freaking much.
A young, beautiful woman gets given the terrible news she has inoperable brain cancer.
After trying the traditional treatment methods, she turned to Whole Foods to heal herself instead.
She pulled off a heartless hoax, convincing the world she cured an inoperable brain tumour with healthy eating.
It was discovered that you had things to support your fake cancer claims, such as a wig, IV bags filled with cotton balls.
I got a BBL. I hadn't posted on social media. This idea or light bulb popped up in my head. Oh, I'm just gonna say that I had sickle cell.
Pretty much sickle cell disease is like where it's like 100%, like it's just like full on sickle cell anemia.
Your Honor, I object!
And why is that?
Because it's devastating to my case!
Overruled.
Good call!
I want you to sit back for a moment and imagine this. The year is 2018 and you're scrolling mindlessly on YouTube. You're just trying to keep up with all the hottest goss. Maybe you're in complete shock as Logan Paul comes across what seems to be a dead body in a Japanese forest. Or perhaps you're one of the folks committed to making sure that PewDiePie was the most subscribed to channel on YouTube.
You bitch lasagna.
Yeah, that mission failed. Or you had nothing to do with any of that and you're a makeup girly and you were waiting with bated breath for the launch of James Charles's sister collection before he was disgraced influencer James Charles.
What the fuck?
And so while you await the arrival of the sister collection, you watch a few tutorials. Maybe you watch a few get ready with me's and you exhaust the usual suspects like Manny MUA, Nikki Tutorials, Jeffree Star, or Raw Beauty Christie. And then you end up on a channel you know about but maybe haven't watched before.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I wanted to do a prom makeup tutorial for all my ladies out there that are going to prom and want to slay all day. So I just did this simple brown smoky eye and then a nude lip and some balm highlight. So if you want to learn how to achieve this simple but yet cute prom look, then please keep on watching.
This is Daisy Marquez, who at the time was a mid-level beauty influencer, debatably most well known for her relationships with men like Brother Nature and Nick Gutierrez, brother of Manny MUA. She got nearly 1 million subscribers at this time, with some of her most successful videos being ones where she participates in the oh-so-classic Boyfriend Did My Makeup Challenge, a prom makeup tutorial, and a rather serious storytime video about being undocumented in America.
We went through a forest and then a river, and then once we passed those little like bushes forest, it was just plain grass.
All in all, it's pretty standard but enjoyable content. So video after video autoplays, and then suddenly this video pops up out of nowhere.
In the beginning of the year, obviously it's still the beginning of the year, but in the beginning of January, I went for my physical checkup and they took out some blood work and they were like, oh, are you anemic? And I was like, yes. I was like, I'm anemic. I was like, I've already been knowing this. I was like, because of my iron level is low. And they were like, oh no, you're not anemic because of your iron level. They were like, your hemoglobin level is low.
For context, this is a video explaining where Daisy has been after a few weeks of inactivity online, where she claims that the reason she went missing is because she has tragically been diagnosed with sickle cell anemia.
So then whenever we went back for the checkup appointment, that's where they explained everything to me. So pretty much what sickle cell anemia is, everybody has red blood cells and they are circles. However, if you have sickle cell anemia, your red blood cells are like little crescent moons. I just wanted to let you guys know what has been going on the past 2 weeks. Obviously, you guys are like my family, so I feel the need to tell you guys. Plus, I didn't just want to tweet saying like, I have sickle cell anemia, and then all you guys go apeshit. You're like, oh my god, what is this? Does she have something deadly? No, so I felt like I just wanted to address it on here.
Sickle cell anemia is one of a few kinds of sickle cell disease where blood cells, which are usually round and flexible, become shaped like sickles and become more rigid and sticky, less flexible, which can potentially slow or even stop blood flow.
I found out when I was about 5 or 6, but I never really started to soak it in and learn about it until I was in middle school. That's when I really wanted to be like a normal kid, and I didn't have the opportunity. A lot of times, like I said, like I couldn't walk. I didn't want to be bothered. I kind of just wanted like my medicine, and then I'm like, leave me alone. Let me go through this by myself and deal with it.
I get chronic headaches that I still get for, I think, almost a decade now that I've been having the same headache. I know the hip pains, the joint pains, and everything else, that's like a stabbing pain. I can barely move at times. I get frustrated from it. The pain is there.
Sickle cell anemia is a very serious condition that can lead to extreme pain that can last hours or even days, with the swelling of your hands and feet, constant infections, and vision problems, to name just a few issues, and can often lead to extreme fever or even a stroke. To say that Daisy's fans were upset would be an understatement, with her comment section being a flood of complete encouragement and well-wishing. So naturally, you, a new viewer, are upset by this unspeakable tragedy. Daisy even mentioned her diagnosis a few times on Twitter, tweeting on August 27, 2018 that, quote, "After 2 weeks of being sick and not going to the doctor, they told me I have an infection in my throat that spread to my toenails, gums, and ears, in case anyone was wondering," in response to someone saying, "Damn, you stay getting sick." She responded, "I have a really weak immune system, and also my sickle cell anemia makes it worse." Now, okay, remember, we're still currently living in 2018. We're not present day, we are still in 2018. After the reveal of her illness, you go and click subscribe, hoping to follow Daisy on this journey, except days later, she's back to posting beauty tutorials, get ready with me's, random other algorithm hack attempts, but no further mention of her diagnosis. In fact, the next time anyone even close to Daisy brings it up at all is when an Instagram user named Salty Touch begins vaguely posting about a former friend of hers that you and others start to suspect might be Daisy Marquez. Quote, "Y'all, I literally used to have a friend who would lie 24/7 and even lied about sickle cell anemia. And that was her reason she was MIA for a while." Now the quote gets really wild here, because if this is about Daisy Marquez, then the lie was for the absolute most ridiculous reason possible. You couldn't even guess in a million years if you tried. Quote, "But she really got a Brazilian butt lift and needed time to heal." So, wow. Okay, this was preposterous, right? Like, who uses that word, but we're using it today. This was preposterous. This couldn't be real. You think this can't be real. And this couldn't be about Daisy. Seriously, who would lie about having sickle cell anemia just to hide that they had work done on their ass cheek? So, it's time you investigate, okay? Get your web sleuthing on, and you go to Daisy's page when you realize the video's gone. You go to her Twitter, tweets deleted. The videos pop up from folks like Dustin Daly calling Daisy out for this, but otherwise, Daisy completely shuts the hell up and never talks about this ever again. Life moves on. She continues making content. Her channel grows to 1.45 million subscribers. And sure, her ass does, look a little bit different to you, but maybe she's been working out. Who cares, right? She moves on, you move on, we move on. So why are we talking about this obscure, ancient, very moldy tea? Because in 2024, Daisy Marquez casually and completely out of nowhere said this on a podcast.
In 2018, I got a BBL.
Wait, is this your first time admitting it?
Yes, it's my first time addressing it. I never denied it. I just never addressed it.
So you never said you did it, and you never said you did?
Yeah.
But you're literally saying on here, like...
Yes, I got a BBL in 2018, right after I got out of surgery. The nurse, I remember waking up, and this nurse came in, she's like, "Hi, honey, we're just monitoring you, you did lose a lot of blood, we just want to make sure that you're good, that, you won't have to, just to make sure you're good," right? Yeah, and I remember she was, trying to, wake me up and keep me in conversation just to, make sure I'm good, and she's just talking to me, and she's like, "So how long have you been anemic for?" And I was like, "Oh, since I can remember." And she's like, "You probably have sickle cell."
This is Daisy Marquez in 2024 casually mentioning that she straight up lied to her audience about having sickle cell anemia simply because somebody casually mentioned to her that she might. That was her reason.
I remember looking at my DMs and messaging people being like, "How, where are you? Where have you been?" I hadn't posted on social media for those 3 days, and then I go into full panic mode. I'm like, okay. Holy I cannot even get up or sit down to use the restroom. I can't do anything. And then I start freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna tell my fans? I had no content brief film. I go into full panic mode. And I remember at the time it was just my mom and my ex there with me, and they didn't know what to do, and I was just kind of like in a frenzy, and I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna say that I had sickle cell because.
But let me ask you a question. So when the nurse told you like, oh, you probably have sickle cell, like how was her expression telling you? Was she like worried? Was it just
no,
like, oh,
it
you
was
have
just
sickle cell? Like,
no, she was like, oh, you probably have sickle cell. Like,
And to be clear, that video she deleted, she wasn't waxing about whether she could have sickle cell. No, she's saying in the video 100% without a doubt that she had sickle cell anemia and waited 6 years. 6 years to confirm.
So I was so happy that he explained everything to me, and just everything that was happening to me just made a lot more sense. All my questions were answered. But then after that, he was like, you're gonna have to get a blood transfusion. They were like, because of the sickle cell anemia, and I was like, oh, okay, and that's it.
We're still in the intro. Let me get to this.
I was getting a lot of hate. Like, it was in an era where like you could say anything trendy, or like you could tweet anything about me, and it would get so much likes and attention. I was talking about this with my friends too. Like, back then, the internet was so cruel to me, and I just don't know what. It was almost like a trend to hate on me, and just.
So you were already getting hate back then, aside from.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was getting a lot of hate, and like mentally, I was super weak. Everybody around me knew that like any little hate or any little comment would get to me, and I would cry, and I would just like. Mentally, I was just super vulnerable. So I knew that if I told the internet in 2018, when BBLs were not even a thing, if I were to come out right now that I had BBL, nobody would give a shit.
Oh yeah, right now everybody would applaud you.
Nobody would give a fuck. But in 2018, everything's fresh. If I were to come out with that I got a BBL and that's my first surgery, I would have gotten dragged through the mud.
Oh yeah.
And mentally, I just was not prepared for that. I was not ready for that. I knew that like.
You were scared because you were already getting
terrified. I was terrified of the internet. I was terrified of like explaining myself. I was terrified. I was honestly and genuinely just a terrified person. That is why I lied. I lied because I was scared and I f***ed up. So I sat down and I made a YouTube video. And I lied and I said that I had sickle cell, and that's why I was gone off the internet. When honestly, I could have just been like, hey guys, I wasn't feeling good. I was off the internet, and that's it.
I'd love to say a story like this lit the internet on fire, the way some stories for far less things seem to do. But from what I found, even the biggest influencers who have covered this bombshell reveal, like Marky, The Sesh, or Dustin Daly, who broke the story from what I've been able to tell from back then, have all received a relatively muted response to the reveal that an influencer lied about having a potentially fatal disease for sympathy, for clout, to get everyone to shut up in her DMs as an excuse for not responding. The truth is, this is nothing new in the world of influencers on YouTube and TikTok and everywhere in the world. For almost as long as there have been noteworthy figures online, there have been people faking an illness for reasons ranging from personal gain to financial gain and literally everything in between. And every single time, all it truly does is hurt the very real people who actually have these diseases. Not all influencers with illnesses are faking it. I'd wager that most are fully sincere about what they're going through. But for those who are faking, why the f they do this? And do they really think they can get away with it? And I'm almost wondering, maybe a lot of them do. And most importantly, have any of them ever considered the lasting effect that this has on people who are actually facing illnesses or disability? Well, as we're about to dig into the disgusting grift of people like Belle Gibson, you'll realize that this story goes far deeper than ever imagined. And this is what we know. Oh, hi there. Hello, hi. It's my face again. Swoop! If you're seeing me for the first time, welcome. My name is Swoop, and I'm a documentary filmmaker, commentary creator, and professor and dean of Petty University. And I make Swoop docs on unsolved cases, true crime, and social media influencers who abuse their power and manipulate audiences because, as I always say, it's not drama, it's dangerous. We also dig deeper into perspectives, we play devil's advocate, and sometimes, depending on my mood, we take it to Petty University. Have y'all enrolled? Class is in session. Professor Petty is here with your first assignment. Also, for extra credit, connect with me on Instagram and Twitter for a chance to be featured in upcoming Swoop docs. Okay, we're gonna dip into the story, but real quick, how is your holiday shopping going? Like, I don't know about you, but I am tired and I have run out of ideas for people. And when I ask them what they want, they're like, I don't know. So like, they don't even know. Now, I like to give things that are practical and something that someone could use every day or even have multiples of, like Raycon's everyday earbuds. So a huge thank you to Raycon for sponsoring this video and to all of you for checking them out, which is a great way to get something amazing for yourself. It's a fantastic gift idea and also support the channel. Now, y'all already know how much I love my Raycon everyday earbuds. I literally have so many pairs of these everywhere, and they make the perfect holiday gift. Even if your recipient already has a pair of earbuds, they could always use a backup, and trust me, they're gonna love these even more than the ones that they have. Raycon's everyday earbuds sound incredible. And the battery life, honey, the battery life, these things never die. I don't understand it. They have a huge 32-hour battery life, multi-point connectivity that lets you pair with 2 devices at the same time, which is such a game changer. But you wanna know what my favorite part is? They have active noise cancellation, and it is incredible. I literally just pop them in, and it's like all of the chaos and the distractions around me just melt away, and I can focus on what I'm listening to and relax. It's kind of like being in my own oasis where I can just tune out all of the noise around me. The noise cancellation is so good that I can use these at like a super loud coffee shop while I'm working, or in a room where someone's like watching a loud TV, and even traveling on a flight, okay? It is really that good. They also have a new quick charge function where you can get 90 minutes of battery after only 10 minutes of charge. And like, let's be real, these types of features are usually so expensive in an earbud until now, because Raycon started just half the price as the other guys, and they are so much more comfortable. It's kind of ridiculous. I wear them all the time, running errands, editing, taking calls, going on walks, literally everywhere. So they come with a matching capsule case and have the cutest colors ever. I love the blush violet and also the forest green. And I love these protective case covers that really let you express your personal style. And the covers also support wireless charging, which is just perfection. So darling, consider your gift dilemma solved. Treat yourself or someone special to the most incredible noise canceling earbuds with the best sound and battery life at an incredibly affordable price. Go to buyraycon.com/swoop to save big for the holidays and get up to 25% off site-wide. That's right, you'll get up to 25% off everything on Raycon's website when you go to buyraycon.com/swoop, and treat yourself, honey, you deserve it. Also, I gotta let you know, I just released the Valid Rib Cage in a brand new color, this beautiful vintage olive. So be sure to grab your very own brand new pieces from the Unbroken collection and the Valid Rib Cage collection. So all of these are available right now in my shop just in time for the holidays. And thank you so much for supporting small businesses like mine, whether you shop from me or you shop from another small business. I think that is just so important. Okay, back to the doc. Just to give a quick bit of context, because we are believers in context around here. Many of you know, some of you don't. I live with chronic illness. I've touched upon it here and there, but I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. I'm also living with a spine injury that causes a lot of chronic pain, and I've been battling some very serious health issues the last going on 2 years or so. So it's been a lot of doctors, very scary tests, hospital stays, and some dark mental health days, if I'm being honest. I know a lot of you in our community are dealing with different illnesses, whether it's mental health, whether it's chronic illnesses, chronic pain, invisible illness. And I want to just continue to try as best I can to destigmatize the conversations around these topics. For most of my life, I've felt dismissed, like even from doctors, and like people don't take this seriously. So I think if I felt that way, I can only imagine a lot of you have felt the same. And when people in this story lie about this stuff, I believe it hurts everyone. It causes doubt on people with real illnesses, and it emboldens the ass wipes of the internet who are like, oh my gosh, she's talking about chronic pain again. So I say, screw them. On this channel, we talk openly about the hard stuff so that hopefully more people feel empowered to share your experiences if you want to and feel ready to. I'm also feeling hella petty today, and petty is my coping mechanism for the bull. So let's have a sip. So before we get into the sad sack of potatoes that is the influencer grift of this whole story, and my gosh, people find a way to grift. We need to have a little history lesson. So grab some tea, grab your grad caps. So So the history of influencers faking sickness online for sympathy or financial gain or both is a very long, very convoluted, and surprisingly controversial history to unpack. On one hand, like, nobody likes a grifter, okay? I'm looking at you, Andrew Tater Tot, okay? Plain and simple, if an influencer is lying to you by bending the truth about a story or their qualifications, if they're a specialist, or by even the impact their work is having on the world, people don't like it. They don't like that. Now, for a story about somebody who lies about all three of those things, I'd like to guide you to the story of Mama Max, a future Swoop doc topic that I have literally waiting. It's just that doc has been sitting in the drafts. Let me know if you want to see it. But there's another grifter that I've covered more briefly on my second, more unhinged channel, Swoop 2, and that's the kind of grifter who lies about their health. So on Swoop 2, I covered the story of Maddie Russo. If you want to see the full wild story, I'll have it linked below. Those of you who don't know, this is Maddie Russo. Yes, Maddie Russo, a TikToker who graduated from North Scott High School in Iowa back in 2021 with a 4.0 GPA, well, way to go, who became infamous on TikTok after clips like these started going viral. And now that I think about it, getting a 4.0 GPA really does not indicate if someone's going to make smart decisions with things that they do. Okay, I don't know. Okay, yeah, let's keep going.
My name is Maddie Russo, and this is my story. So, when my older brother Tyler turned 18 years old, he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, which is a chronic autoimmune disease where the pancreas no longer produces insulin on its own. With this being said, I was also tested to see if I would develop type 1 diabetes and see if I was positive for any of the antibodies. So when the test came back, I ended up being positive for all 5 out of 5 antibodies.
As a reminder for anybody who hasn't caught that one yet, Maddie Russo was an Iowa teen who made a bit of a career for herself on TikTok following an alleged pancreatic cancer diagnosis she unveiled in an interview with the North Scott Press in October 2022.
And on February 10th of 2022, quite possibly the worst day of my life, I got the call from my oncologist and they found a mass on my pancreas and I had stage 2 pancreatic cancer at just 19 years old. I was terrified.
Maddie began posting TikToks with tutorials on how to keep, your hair healthy in light of a debilitating illness, videos detailing her desire to freeze her eggs just to make sure she can eventually have kids. She started sharing her journey on LinkedIn, speaking at events as a cancer awareness influencer, and she even started a GoFundMe because, what influencer grift is complete without a GoFundMe? With a description that read, Maddie's cancer has been progressively getting worse and has spread all over her body, including throughout her blood and also on her spine. She has tried everything and given it her all. Chemo, radiation, and other methods have no longer helped. Now, the page received more than $37,000 from 439 donors, according to the Eldridge Police Department. Yes, the police are involved, okay? The police found their tea and they're like, you thought?
Eldridge police have arrested a local teenager for allegedly using false medical claims to raise more than $37,000. Officers say 19-year-old Madison Russo stole the money from more than 439 donors with false claims that she suffered from acute lymphoblastic leukemia, stage 2 pancreatic cancer, and a tumor the size of a football.
But the thing is, medical professionals online and off started to notice that some of the details in Maddie's videos were a bit off.
I wanted to share was how I've been keeping my hair during treatment with chemo and radiation. I think it's really been helping because it's like unmedicated. So here's the packaging of that. You just order it online. It comes with like a 3-month supply. I started this right away when I started treatment.
And some people started describing the details of her claims as so off, it would be considered life-threatening.
So it's my week off chemo, so I've just been doing radiation. However, I've kind of came down with this fever. It's been really weird because I don't feel like sick. I don't really have like a cold or like sore throat, any of the other symptoms. I don't have COVID. I don't have any of that. I just have this like nagging fever and kind of just like that feeling of being like, like run down and stuff like that.
Now, eventually their concerns were taken to local police, who arrested and charged Maddie with theft by means of deception, which is a Class C felony based on discrepancies like there being no medical records confirming a cancer diagnosis for Maddie in her city and surrounding cities, a number of inconsistencies in how Maddie prepared things like breathing tubes or even spoke of her illness. The discovery that her videos in an alleged medical office were actually in her apartment. Do I need to say that again? She was posting things saying it was in a medical doctor's office, and it was really taken in her apartment. And most damningly, that Maddie had stolen photos from real cancer survivors claiming that they were her. I think hands down that was the most disgusting part of the whole story. Okay. I need to, my petty is, Now, Maddie eventually went to trial, rightfully so, and was handed down a 10-year suspended sentence that will go on Maddie's criminal record, as well as 3 years of probation, with the terms of her probation being she has to pay the restitution of $439,385.79. And yes, I have the cents in there because I am a thorough bitch.
I fully acknowledge that what I did was wrong, and I am incredibly sorry. If there was anything I could do to take it back, I would. The reality is that I can't.
She also had to commit no other crimes, do 100 hours of community service, and pay an additional $1,370 fee.
It is absolutely clear to the court that you engaged in a lengthy course of deceit. Today, you indicate my initial reaction, quite frankly, was this lengthy course of deceit was motivated by greed or perhaps social media fame.
So justice served, right? Except this isn't an isolated incident. The reason why the topic of influencers faking sickness is so controversial is because people who get caught lying about being ill do nothing but harm the credibility of people who actually are living with any kind of illness. And it doesn't matter which, right? Like, people then don't bother to understand or like acknowledge that the actions of one person have nothing to do with the actions of another. Funny how that works. And so it may start to cast doubt on perfectly legitimate stories of illness. But yet, because some influencers do lie about being sick, and honestly at an alarming rate, as I discovered, I have 2 questions for you that I hope we can answer by the end of this doc. Number 1, why do so many influencers lie about being sick, y'all? Like, what? I don't get it. Does someone send an email? Is there a newsletter and they're like, hey, guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna lie about being sick. I don't, because I look it around and I'm like, I don't know about you, but I'm sick of this shit. I'm sick of this shit. And question number 2, why do so many people assume that if one person lies, that apparently must mean all influencers and sometimes just regular internet users are lying about the same thing? I wanted to bring all of this up at the front to highlight that there is a distinction between people who may actually be sick with something and people who have something to gain from being allegedly sick, and those who are just here to grift the internet, or I guess make alleged excuses for getting a butt lift, allegedly. This doc is mostly about those people like Daisy Marquez, and also people like Belle Gibson.
Put everything that I knew along my journey with cancer, nutrition and wellness, and put it on the most accessible device possible, the iPhone. And it's just onwards and upwards from there. With the Apple Watch, it's even more accessible, and it's an even more personal experience and more personal journey to living the whole life and adopting the support and the resources that we put there for you.
Buckle up, class.
Is a mother, a businesswoman, and she's also living with brain cancer.
For a person living with brain cancer, you look incredibly healthy.
So we're diving deep into the history of wellness influencers to talk about a name that I personally haven't heard in a long time. Annabelle Natalie Gibson, known professionally as Belle Gibson. Now, if you don't know who Belle is, she was at one point one of the rising stars of online wellness influencers, at one point accumulating over 300,000 followers on Instagram, launching a successful successful app that was downloaded over 200,000 times and signed a major book deal that culminated in the release of a massively successful cookbook. And it all came from the claim that she had such a healthy diet that she cured her own brain cancer. Wait, what?
It was a box, a machine with lights on the front, and that machine was apparently German technology. There's two metal pads, one that goes below the chair and one that goes behind your back, and then that measures what I believe or remember to be frequencies.
And what were the results?
He said to me that I had a stage 4 brain tumor and that I had approximately 4 months to live.
Okay, so let's back up a little bit, okay? We gotta, let's back it up. So born October 8th, 1991 in Launceston, Tasmania, Belle became a single mother at the age of 18. But according to Belle herself, tragedy struck just 2 years later when she was told she had terminal brain cancer by her physician. Quote, "You're dying. You have 6 weeks, 4 months tops." I certainly hope the news wasn't delivered that way. Oh wait, but the news wasn't delivered. Yeah, so now this was on top of allegedly almost dying after multiple heart surgeries, one of which allegedly killed her for 1 minute. As Belle puts it, she spent a few months receiving chemo before she made the bold decision to abandon traditional medicine and go for a more alternative approach. The times that I've been told, what if you try a little alternative approach? It's like, what do you mean by that? Are we talking the devil's lettuce? Are we talking some snake oil? I'm curious. So in her case, we're talking about a plant-based diet that cuts out gluten. The gluten, what in the gluten-free audacity? Finally, I have a story where I can just fully and completely applies what in the whole grain gluten-free audacity. So yeah, cut out gluten. She had oxygen therapy, daily colonics.
Someone puts like a pipe up your ass, colonic cleanses, and they flush it with like saline or water to flush out all of these things. That is incredibly dangerous.
And over time, as Belle puts it, a miracle happened. Her brain cancer went away. And so, in fact, did all of her other diagnoses. Sorry, guys, we're petty today, okay? You're gonna see why, because this story. So she's cured. It was flat out a miracle, and honestly, the type of story that simply sounded too good to be true, because it was. Oh, excuse me. I had a little tickle in my throat. Okay, there. That's better. So here's the thing. Belle's claim sounded wild, especially considering that primary tumors, which are tumors that form in the brain, have some of the highest mortality rates of any cancer. So Miss Belle Gibson was straight up defying science with this one, allegedly. So she claimed.
Do you think you're dying?
Yeah.
You feel like you're dying?
Yeah, and I'm fine with that.
Until she cured herself, shunning conventional medicine for natural therapies and whole foods.
It was 5 years ago I was diagnosed with terminal cancer.
Belle built a $500,000 empire.
At the top of 2013, Belle used her remarkable story to launch an Instagram account at Healing Belle, which very quickly attracted hundreds of thousands of subs and kickstarted the development of her Whole Pantry app, where people could pay a fee, of course, and access recipes and health guidance from Belle, which was named by Apple, literally by the Apple, the best food and drink app of 2013. I am livid. Okay. This app made Belle a lot of money. You gotta say it like that, a lot. You gotta put the eyes back in the socket and just the tongue, a lot of money. Say it with me, a lot of money. Well done, class, well done. According to the Evening Standard out of the UK, she made 420,000 Australian dollars, which today, even after inflation, is still over like $250,000 US, okay? So them's was lots of dollars, okay? A lot.
It was 5 years ago I was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and we launched the Whole Pantry a year ago, and that evolution came through my community. They kept reaching out to me saying, you know, we're also feeling in a space of an uninspired space, or a space without direction, and how are we going to, you know, live the whole life without resources or without something pulling that all together. So that was my responsibility.
This was followed by a book deal with Lantern Books, a Penguin Books imprint, where she wrote a book she released in October 2014, also titled The Whole Pantry. The whole audacity, more like it.
Belle Gibson is part of a new breed of entrepreneur. She is an ecopreneur. Belle launched the Whole Pantry app last year.
It's essentially a recipe collection full of whole foods and vegetarian recipes, which is the way that we encourage people to get back to the fundamentals of eating more fruits and vegetables.
The Whole Pantry was born through Belle's own battle with brain cancer. She was diagnosed with terminal cancer a few years ago. After trying the traditional treatment methods, she turned to whole foods to heal herself instead.
Every recipe in this book was free from gluten, refined sugar, and dairy, and although it didn't promise to cure cancer as Belle had allegedly cured hers, it did promise a well-nourished life. Now, I can't find any data on how well the book did, but considering around this time Belle grew to over 300,000 followers on her Instagram, I'd say the answer, academically speaking, is pretty well. So, right before the release of her book, Belle announced something tragic on Instagram. Her cancer was back, and it had spread. Quote, "I have cancer in my blood, spleen, brain, uterus, and liver. I am hurting. I wanted to respectfully let you each know and hand some of the energy over to the greater community, my team, and the Whole Pantry. Please don't carry my pain. I've got this." I bet you do, Belle. I bet you do. Suddenly, all eyes were on Belle. Cosmopolitan awarded her the Fun Fearless Female Award in 2014. Sounds like Andrew Tate's nightmare. Elle Australia called her the most inspiring woman you've met this year. That's a quote. Discussions were had to add the Whole Pantry app to the Apple Watch. This thing, the Apple Watch. And through it all, I don't know why I got so angry about that. Okay, there's lots of apps on there. Hopefully they're not trash like this. But through it all, chipper Belle, she kept up a smile and even decided to pledge that she would donate most of her fortune to charity. Belle Gibson was the biggest, brightest rising star in 2014. Now, that all changed in 2015. It started with a bombshell report from Fairfax Media out of Australia. And we are talking Nancy Grace, old school Nancy Grace, bombshell tonight kind of story.
Bombshell tonight.
Sorry, I love me some vintage Nancy Grace. This story came out of Australia, revealing that Belle, claiming to hand over the money she made from the Whole Pantry to charity, was whole grain bullshit. As the Sydney Morning Herald summarizes the allegations, quote, "Belle Gibson failed to hand over the money raised through 2 charity drives in 2013 and 2014. 4 of the 5 charities promoted as beneficiaries had no knowledge of the fundraising campaigns they didn't even know, which included a function and an online promotion promising to donate app sale proceeds." Can you imagine somebody organizing, structuring, promoting, and putting together a charity event? The charities don't even know that this is happening, which, I mean, not all, sometimes people do fundraisers on their channels and they don't notify that. So that's that could be argued a million ways, but imagine structuring a whole ass charity event for a charity and then you never give the charity. Wow, stay classy, San Diego.
Go yourself, San Diego.
One of the worst offenses found was when Belle pledged to donate 100% of her app sales for 1 week, or $150,000, whichever was higher, to the family of a boy named Joshua, someone with a legitimate inoperable brain tumor and someone Belle never gave a dime to. Yeah. As a reminder, Belle made nearly $500,000 between her app and the advance of her book. But not so fun fact, her charity donations, $6,000 total. None of it went to Joshua either. According to a judge who later addressed this case, Belle literally compared Joshua's situation to her own, which, even saying that out loud, I want to vomit in my mouth a little bit because my soul just shrunk a few sizes and we're gonna have to pump it back up with some tea. She made this disgusting grift extra egregious with that, especially with what happens next in this story.
I mean, you go into extraordinary details. I had surgery about 7 hours ago. The doctor comes in and tells me the draining failed and I went into cardiac arrest and died for just under 3 minutes. I had the most intense bruising from the paddles when they electrocuted me back to consciousness. Mm-hmm. Minus the wires and constant throwing up of blood. Anyway, the procedure failed and I died.
See, I haven't read back through all of that. But I also think when you're young and have gone through the situation I had just gone through, you are melodramatic. I don't have...
Melodramatic now? I mean, they're straight out lies. You weren't in hospital. You're claiming you were. You claimed you died twice. You didn't. You claimed you had 2 cardiac arrests. You didn't. That's not melodramatic. That's straight out lying.
It is.
Extraordinary lies.
So Belle and the whole pantry were quickly slammed on social media over concerns over where the heck their money had gone, and Belle very quickly had gone into damage control to try to save her reputation. In April, she sat down for an interview with Australia Women's Weekly, and trust me when I say this would actually be the true beginning of the end for her. Belle was asked in this interview point blank about her cancer diagnosis, to which she responded, quote, "No, none of it's true. I am still jumping between what I think I know and what is reality. I have lived it and I'm not really there yet. What in the sugar-free, gluten-free are you saying, Belle?" Well, what she meant was Belle Gibson did not have brain cancer. In fact, she never had brain cancer or any cancers. She had lied. She had lied about having brain cancer and built an entire career around claiming that living a holistic lifestyle had, in fact, cured her brain cancer.
Belle Gibson has made it. Except it's all a lie, a great big lie. She doesn't have cancer, never did. You didn't have brain cancer.
No, I didn't.
No.
But when I was writing that, I thought that I did, and I was feeling well.
Yes, but even then you misrepresented what you thought was your truth, which was all a big lie. Anyway.
I'm really sorry. And it hurts me, and I beat myself up every day for how I have hurt those who mean a lot to me.
And when I tell you, when I got to this part, and when I think about other people who've lied about this, like the Maddie Russo that we talked about at the beginning of this, I just, I get so angry sometimes when I'm going into these stories that all I can do is laugh. Again, you guys, you know, I say it all the time, petty is my coping mechanism. It helps me just like retain some semblance of a human. Otherwise, I would fucking explode all over the place.
You know, you go on Instagram in 2013. I have been healing a severe and malignant brain cancer for the past few years with natural medicine, Gerson therapy and foods. It's working for me.
It is. And
Except you didn't have brain cancer.
No, I didn't.
When I think about like, oh man, it just really just makes my blood percolate in none of the good ways. Just like a tiny little bit of, you know, context. It's one of those things, like I know so many of you are either, if not most people in the world have been affected by cancer in some degree, meaning either some of you are battling it, in which case I wish you all of the most immense healing, pain-free treatments, whatever your treatment plan is. And then there are people who have been affected because someone in your life had cancer. My chosen father had cancer and fought a very, very brave battle, and he transitioned on into the next life. And it took him from me and my family. And I mean, cancer should just get cancer and die. That's what I think about it. And so when I see people faking this for money, I don't know how to think that they're potentially anything other than the worst of absolute society. Now, again, we're gonna get into like, you know, some different disorders that may cause someone to do this. Those are different stories than what we're currently talking about. Yeah, I don't have much of any sympathy, and I am a very sympathetic person most of the time. Yeah, anyways, let's get back to it. So regarding Belle, to everyone's horror, that wasn't the only revelation in that interview. Journalist Claire Weaver, when faced with this bombshell admission, did her due diligence to fact check everything. We love a fact-checking queen around here, yes we do. And what she found was that none of Belle's life story included names, locations, dates, or even explanations for her behavior. None of it included any of that, okay? Like, when you think about it, it's actually kind of mind-blowing that everyone in the world, like, I'm talking about, like, you know, not the unsuspecting people who are just trying to be supportive, you know, the fans, I'm talking about like Cosmo, the publications, Cosmo, Elle, Apple. Everyone was jumping on the Belle bandwagon, and there was never a name, a location, a date, any shred of information or evidence. Literally, like, there was nothing supporting her story, and people just went right on believing and praising it and using it in their marketing campaigns and giving awards, and that's wild. Now, of course, you don't want to think that someone would lie about something like that, so I get it, but then also when you're like teaming up and partnering and like doing these, like, some type of fact checking isn't a bad thing. It's just another reason, like, there are some people out there who wonder why I take so long before covering our own investigation. Sometimes stories don't add up. I had this encounter with another person this year. We looked deeper into the story and we're like, some things are not lining up. And I chose no, because there's only so much of my peace that I'm going to let people disturb, and that was not one of those situations. Sometimes stories don't add up, and instead of jumping on a story the moment it's trending, a little more care in fact checking can go a long way. I'm very much that type of person, very much that type of creator, and also I'm living with chronic illness, so yay. So the Sydney Morning Herald points out that this interview includes an admission from Belle that she believed she was curing a cancer she had never been diagnosed with. But she also admits that she never got a brain scan, while not explaining how this then became the focus of her entire life's work. I am absolute confusion. I mean, the number of brain scans that I have had done just in the last year, and like, you don't... I can't imagine someone's declaring that diagnosis that she did and she didn't even have a test done. There are people like me out here having all kinds of tests done, and I'm still like not even processing everything that's going on with me. It's just that, yeah, wow. So Belle kind of hand waves her failings by saying that she was naive, I guess, without a family to guide her, and my gosh, that is just no excuse, Belle.
I mean, 2009 was a really bad year for you, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. You had 3 heart operations, you suffered 2 cardiac arrests, you died twice on the operating table, you had a stroke, and you were diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumour and given 4 months to live.
Correct. And I still have the heart condition, and I was supposed to have surgery for that.
You were supposed to have surgery?
And I didn't.
And why did you tell people that you had 3 surgeries?
At the time, I think going back, I was late teens. But I also think when you're young and have gone through the situation I had just gone through, you are melodramatic.
Y'all, I'm sorry, I need a sip at this point to calm down. I am literally fuming inside. Let me just have a sip, okay? So please hold real quick.
So why didn't I flinch? Because the laws of science differ fundamentally from those of...
Okay, I'm back. So, as Claire, the journalist, puts it, quote, Belle appears unworldly, yet claims to have left home at 12 and lived independently ever since. As a child, she says her mother changed her name 5 times for reasons she doesn't comprehend, and yet The Weekly was unable to find anyone who knew her or her family before her teenage years to check this, and Belle herself was unwilling to assist on this. Now, Claire would further state that Belle cries easily and muddles her words, and that even though she seems knowledgeable in the importance of avoiding gluten, dairy, and coffee, she, quote, doesn't really understand how cancer works, which is kind of a big effing deal for someone whose entire career is centered around terminal brain cancer. And then, wouldn't you know, Belle went on 60 Minutes. Yes, like the 60 Minutes.
Until this day, Belle claims unscrupulous natural therapists duped her into believing she was dying. But tonight, we have the proof that this is a lie too. Belle Gibson is not a victim. She is a fraud. Belle, are you prepared to tell the truth today? The whole truth? No little half?
Absolutely.
For all her sweetness and light, Belle Gibson is not as she appears. Please. I mean, either you're interested in getting to the bottom of this and presenting the facts as they are, the facts, or you're not.
Where's the explanation?
It's been suggested perhaps you have Munchausen syndrome or a
Yeah.
factitious disorder. Do you accept that perhaps you do?
I don't accept that because I don't feel that I do. And with Munchausen's, it's a disorder where you create these syndromes and you believe it and you cause physical pain for that to be believed. And I'm not doing that, and I didn't do that.
To summarize, Belle constantly doubles down on the idea that she thought she had cancer because she believed she had cancer. She thought she had chemo because she believed she had undergone chemo.
You were absolutely misleading, weren't you? You said a doctor gave you this terrible prognosis in his office. Now, you've just admitted that you didn't say it was at your home and it wasn't with a real doctor because you thought people would be disappointed in you.
No, I believed he was a real doctor.
So did you lie to be believed, is the question.
I didn't see him in his doctor's office in Perth.
You didn't see him in his doctor's office ever because he doesn't have an office, does he?
No.
Right, you claimed also in your book that you underwent chemotherapy and radiotherapy for 2 months. True or false?
At the time...
True or false?
True, because at the time I believed I was having radiotherapy.
So, false.
At best, the interview makes Belle look incredibly naive, with admissions over having been grifted by a man who came to her house with mysterious equipment and gave her chemo pills, and then she proceeded to verifiably lie about how this happened in her book.
Why did you write in the foreword of your book that you got this information in your doctor's office, that you got this prognosis in your doctor's office?
Because I think that being open and telling people the way that it happened would not be understood.
So you lied because you feared you wouldn't be believed. Is that what you're saying?
It's not what I'm saying.
Retribution was swift for Belle. Apple pulled the app from the store, an Apple Watch. Her business shuttered. Her book was pulled. Get this, amidst reports that Penguin never fact-checked her, which is just and then the usual influencer grift cover-up followed. Belle began deleting her socials, and she was fined $410,000 in Australian dollars by the Australian government for her charity grift, having been found guilty of 5 different breaches of consumer law. There's a whole epilogue to her story about how she couldn't pay this and moved into an Ethiopian community in Victoria, Melbourne, and began to refer to Ethiopia as her homeland, but that's another story for another day, because honestly, my soul can't handle 2 doses of herbal poop in the same doc. I want to focus on the more important aspect of this. Who did Belle hurt by doing this? And like, hi, hello, literally all of us, I think literally everyone who has any type of legit illness, or honestly, I think literally anyone in society, if I'm being real, I think this affects absolutely every human being. But let's dig deeper and look more specifically than the universal harm. A recent BBC documentary, Bad Influencer, The Great Instacon, goes into great detail on some of the people Belle hurt with her false and damaging claims, as well as her charity scam. One woman, Kylie Wiley, was diagnosed with lymphoma, but had abandoned chemotherapy and lumbar injections to adopt Belle's advice. So she had felt conventional medicine was failing her, and remembers seeing Belle and thinking, quote, maybe she's got the right idea. Maybe I'm doing it all wrong. I'm dying and she's out there living her best life. I was having daily chemo, I had no hair, and I had 17 lumbar punctures. I was like, you're not making me any better, you're making me worse, you're killing me. Why am I even doing this? I wanted to be just like Belle, beautiful and successful. And honestly, like, just reading that, my heart just breaks. Like, no joke, this story sucks in the worst ways possible. It was actually really difficult even getting through all the research going through this. Again, I think it's important we talk about these stories to amplify the people who are directly affected and the people who are indirectly affected, people like you watching, people like me, because like I said, I'm sick of this.
I guess there was kind of that ideology that it's the medicine that makes you look sick. And she's got cancer, but she looks so good because she fuels her body with this amazing food. And I look like shit because I went down the modern medicine route.
The logical part of my brain is like, of course she did not have f***ing cancer. But at the time, I was so desperate to know that there was a cancer cure and it was only green juice. Everything was going to be okay if we just ate healthy. And I was desperate. My family was desperate. And that's what she preyed upon, was people's desperation.
Now, over in the UK, another woman named Maxine Ali had ulcerative colitis that had left her depressed and feeling isolated. Within 1 year following Belle's cooking advice, Maxine had become so ill and undernourished she stopped having her period. Quote, my health started deteriorating. I was starting to feel a lot more run down. I had lost my period, and physically I just wasn't feeling good anymore. I would often find myself hungry a lot of the time. I just felt like a complete failure. I felt incredibly gullible that I had fallen for something that could have so easily been disproven. How can I be so stupid? Oh, it really just hurts. It hurts to see someone think that they were stupid. And that this is in any way their fault. It's not their fault. It's the fault of the liar, period. And I'll even put some responsibility on, like Apple and publications who weren't fact checking things. So again, it's hard to put into words how pissed off this makes me. It just makes me really sad for these people. Like, I have a very dear friend who has suffered with ulcerative colitis much of their life. It is, from what I've witnessed, an absolute ongoing, relentless living nightmare for them. Watching them suffer for years with debilitating effects makes me so deeply upset for them. It's a ruthless illness. Now, Maxine's friend Pixie Turner also followed Belle's dietary advice of sticking to fruits and vegetables, but soon found that the diet was more restrictive than that, ruling out any products, not only with meat, gluten, or dairy, but also products with more than 5 ingredients. Like, Apple was literally promoting this, promoting someone just taking people's money to tell them that they can only eat something that has to have less than 5 ingredients. So as the Daily Mail puts it, quote, the restricted diet was playing havoc with her health physically and mentally. Each of these women thankfully made a recovery from Belle's bad advice, but the Daily Mail claims that others were not so lucky. And in the backlash against Gibson, many claimed they lost loved ones to cancer who ignored traditional medicine for Gibson's clean eating cure. And again, these are just a few of the women who were victims of a selfish, abhorrent grift that not only sought sympathy from an enraptured audience, but also their hard-earned money. It's a grift that reminds me a lot of Brittany Dawn Nelson's. Obviously, it's dealing with different things, but it's similar idea, right? She's a disgraced fitness influencer who ripped off her fans with a sham fitness and diet plan and was sued by the state of Texas. Only, unlike Brittany Dawn, there's an added element of a flat-out lie about the state of Belle Gibson's health.
Except the level of damage you've done to people's trust.
I do. And they are feeling disrespected. They are feeling hurt. They are feeling betrayed.
And your whole trade was on these poor people. That you inspired them, that they felt sorry for you, that you showed them a path. I mean, you profited from that. You gained from that in reputation and in income.
I didn't trade in my story or in other people's lives.
You did trade in your story. Belle, it's all here.
So why did Belle lie exactly? According to that 60 Minutes interview, the answer really isn't clear. There are so many theories on whether she has Munchausen by internet or if she was malingering, which we'll get into. But since I'm not going to diagnose somebody, I will say that based on the facts, it seems that Belle at least partially maybe convinced herself of some of her own lies. But again, I don't even know. That's me extending the most grace and looking, playing devil's advocate as we do here and seeing, well, what could potentially be going on from her perspective. We like to look at different perspectives, even if I firmly don't agree with them, but I don't know. That's the best I got. She admitted to willingly lying about some of it, but a lot of it is rooted in what is at best, extreme naivete, and at worst, a total unwillingness to pull her head out of the sand and intentional harm of the most vulnerable people. And personally, that's where my gut opinion leaves me. And, let me know your thoughts in the comments. The list of influencers who have been caught faking some kind of illness is honestly really staggering. There have quite a few who have been credibly suspected of faking illness due to the many, many, many ways that they've represented symptoms and treatments that didn't align with the illness itself, like Maddie Russo. But due to a lack of hard confirmation, I'm not going to add to the speculation about any of those other influencers that I haven't mentioned, and instead we'll focus on those who have been caught red-handed. Like in 2021, when Twitch streamer Ms. Dusty Bird had to apologize for lying about having f***ing lung and brain cancer. I don't know what it is about these people and the brain cancers. I don't know why they so often seem to choose that one. People who actually have that shit, like, there's no world where you could even begin to fake that experience. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting off a tangent. But during this live, she's like raising funds for herself online for treatment. According to Insider's investigation of her, quote, she told Insider that she started off lying as a young kid and lies became second nature to her, describing herself as manipulative. Well, at least, you own it, dirty bird. The self-awareness with this one, I guess. I'm not giving you points, but cool. That can't be said for everyone, and even the ones who do own it can't do it with any class whatsoever. One famous example is Limey Bean, an 18-year-old London resident who had been diagnosed in the mid-aughts with tuberculosis, who shared their recovery journey on LiveJournal until one day her death was announced on a friend's MySpace. The internet at large, who had been rooting for Limey Bean, was beyond devastated, as you can imagine. Well, that was until Limey Bean posted to LiveJournal that not only was she not dead, she didn't regret faking it. Quote, I wanted an escape and it gave me one should I ever want to leave. I've always had a problem when it comes to telling the truth on the internet, to be honest, and seriously, this is why I will forever always say, just because you have a platform doesn't mean you should. Just because words are coming out of your mouth doesn't mean you're saying shit. Anyways, back to the quote. After realizing the effect my bravery in my illness had on people, I then used it as a vehicle to try and get some of the idiot emo kids on LiveJournal to buckle up and realize they don't really have it that bad. The lie was worth something, wasn't it? How bad is a lie if it helps? I cannot believe that we are living in a time, and we've been living in a time, where this is the way people think. That people actually think, the lie benefited someone, and so it's a good thing because it didn't hurt anyone. I just faked dying and had all these people go through this grief, but it told people that I just shut up. Just shut up. Just shut up. Again, say it with me, class. Just because words are coming out of your mouth doesn't mean you're saying shit. Whew, the number of people that I want to say that to. Anyways, back to it. I don't know, I guess this was all sort of a Nikocado, a social experiment. Good one, Limey Bean. But when I think about this lie, I just think about, man, I remember when lying was like, for someone's benefit of like, I'm trying to think of a good lie that's like for someone's benefit. When someone like, you could tell that they've had a really bad day and they're like, do I look as awful as I feel? And like, maybe they look a little raggedy, okay? Like we've all been there. And then you bend the truth a little bit and you're like, no, girl, you look surprisingly refreshed for what you've been through today. You know what I mean? Like that's a lie I can get behind. You know what I mean? Not this shit. Now, Wired, in a now deleted article from 2009, yes, we dug it up, details an early internet story from a Usenet group, Alt Religion Kibology, where a man named M. Otis Beard was becoming very confrontational with other users on the forum before abruptly another user announced that he had ended his own life as a result of the bullying. Tributes came pouring in from friends and foes alike, and a community was in mourning. Until Otis appeared to smugly say, quote, rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated, as if you can exaggerate your death. You're either dead or you're not, dude. But he revealed that this too was a social experiment. Nikocado thought he was 2 steps ahead, even 2 decades behind. Quote, you thought you had irretrievably lost something. That something is now returned to you. If I hadn't made you sad by pretending to be dead, I wouldn't have been able to make you happy. Well, okay, angry and then happy by jumping out of my coffin whole and hale. Forgive me for putting you through the emotional roller coaster ride, which I hope was a healthy, cathartic experience for all of you. Usenet is real enough that my death caused grief in many of you whom I have never so much as exchanged an email with, much less met in the flesh. On the other hand, Usenet is unreal enough that I was able, without breaking any laws, to play dead so effectively as to make people grieve in the first place. Fiddly-dee! And of course, when I started this particular section, I'm sure many of you screamed at your screen, "Swoop, what about J Station?" For those of you who don't remember, you probably didn't say it as annoyingly as I did, but I know some of you were like, "Oh, get into the keys were going," or the keys, the thumb, whatever. For those of you who don't remember, I'm J Station. First of all, bless your heart. Ignorance truly is bliss. Unironically. I don't really know how to explain J Station other than he was a prank channel, a controversy lightning rod, an actual piece of human garbage juice.
What's poppin', guys? Back with another dark web video. As you guys know, about a month ago, we actually found a website on the dark web that lets you buy access to people's home security and webcam system. We found the most crazy stuff on that website, guys, including people in their bathroom and a cannibal eating somebody alive, guys. It was nuts.
In 2019, J Station started doing a series of videos where he would pull out Ouija boards and attempt to contact passed away celebrities like XXXTentacion, or I don't know if I pronounced that right, or YouTuber Etika, basically clickbaiting actual tragedy through some of the most nefarious means possible.
What's poppin', guys? I just got back from the middle of nowhere in an insane asylum. I checked Twitter right now, and I saw the most horrific news I've ever seen, man. Honestly, guys, and it comes from comments on my YouTube channel telling me, "Jay, you better not do the Ouija board on Etika." Hell no, I'm not gonna do the Ouija board on Etika, bruh.
But there wasn't really a bottom to that pit, unfortunately, when Jay released a video announcing the passing of his girlfriend Alexia, allegedly at the hands of a drunk driver.
What's up, guys? I never wanted to make a video like this, ever. But last night, we lost Alexia. To a drunk driver, guys.
Based on his earlier content, people were a bit skeptical about this. An investigation from the community, but especially via Mutahar of Some Ordinary Gamers, revealed that there had been no deaths or even reported drunk driving accidents involving someone by Alexia's name in Toronto, where the two lived. Now, that didn't stop Jay from doing unhinged shit like this.
What's poppin', guys? Back with another 3 a.m. challenge. As you guys know, my girlfriend Alexia just passed away in a tragic accident, guys. I cannot get over her, guys. I miss her so freaking much. A ton of you guys actually been commenting on my videos to talk to her on the Ouija board, guys. A lot of you guys just want to hear one last thing from her, guys. So do I. I miss her so much. The last thing I actually said to her was, "Babe, can you pick me up some Popeyes before you come back?" And she never came back, guys. I need to say a proper goodbye, guys. So tonight, we're gonna talk to her on the Ouija board, guys. We're doing the Ouija board challenge on my dead girlfriend. Let's smash the like button right now, guys. 1 like equals 1 prayer for Alexia, guys. Rest in peace.
Ooh, 1 like is 1 prayer. Smash that like button, bitches. Woo! Now, let me know right now in the comments if you want me to cover that story. I know it's a legacy story, okay? But every now and then we like to do those because wow. But for now, without going into every detail of this honestly unhinged story, Alexia herself eventually came clean and separated from Jay. I think that's in her best interest, announcing that not only was the death a hoax to resurrect her for views later, but also that Jay was abusive to her. A warrant would be put out for Jay's arrest due to these allegations, and a few years later, his channel was removed from YouTube for violating terms of service. Now, I know that in the case of Otis and J Station, we're slipping into a bit of a gray area with fake death as opposed to fake sickness. The truth is, the goal appears to be the same in each of these stories named: gain for the influencer of some kind. It's done for clout. For Jay, it's financial. For Otis and Limey Bean, it's a smug curiosity and clout. For Belle, there was immense financial gain. The truth is a little harder to figure out, so at least give her that. Again, her actions don't get sympathies from me. The actions do not. The person, moving on. But just as hard to figure out is also this other case of Mian Baobao. Now, in case you think that this is some uniquely Western phenomenon, the South China Morning Post clued me into the existence of this Taiwanese influencer who was considered a bit of a rising star in the fitness influencer scene, having accumulated 11,000 followers in her time online by sharing videos and photos of her lifting weights, tips on a healthier lifestyle, and just generally being a bit of a badass. But what made her even more of a badass was when she promoted in her bio, which when translated reads, "A woman who aspires to be a non-professional weightlifting athlete and a professional cancer fighter." I'm sure you know where I'm going with this, but hang tight. 3 years ago, Mian Baobao announced to her audience that she had been diagnosed with late-stage pancreatic cancer. Alongside her fitness journey, she also shared what she claimed was her cancer treatment and posted photos of IVs, hospitals, and her hair loss, all while using the hashtag #FightingCancerDaily. But one day, in 2023, a man who claimed to be her ex-husband, okay, watch out, the ex is coming out, began posting on social media about how he had been suspicious of her diagnosis due to her never allowing him to join her at the hospital. Quote, "Every time she went for treatment, she insisted that her family drop her off at the entrance to the hospital and insisted on seeing the doctor alone. The total medical expense for the whole family in 2021 amounted to just NT 8,480, which is the US equivalent of $275. What doctor can you possibly see? That's $275, let alone get all these treatments." Sorry, the quote goes on. "I never saw any attending doctor, diagnosis, proof, or hospital receipts from her in the past 2 years." What made it worse was when he discovered through Google reverse image searching that many of the hospital photos Mian Baobao was posting were actually taken from Google itself. Again, it's giving Maddie Russo. Now, this wasn't a case of somebody being surprised and accused as the allegations piled up on social media. Mian Baobao came completely and directly clean. This is rare. After scrubbing her Instagram completely, she left one also now deleted post that read, quote, "I did the last thing a person should do. I lied about cancer and lied to everyone for 3 years. I know I deserve to die 1,000 deaths and I must bear the consequences of my own choices. I'm sorry to anyone who ever gave me a little kindness. If there's a company that requires me to fork out a sum for compensation, I will do so. But I know there's damage that has been done that money cannot compensate for. All I can do is apologize again." So we've been digging into this. We've been looking at this type of behavior, and I wanted to get a little bit more clarification, like on the medical side of things. There's a distinction between people who fake illness because they need to be perceived as being sick, but not actually sick. And then there are some people, like a lot of what we've been talking about, are people who are faking it because it's making them a lot of money. So I wanted to do a little bit more digging. Now for the second question, all you need to do is hop on TikTok and look at the malingering hashtag to see why this could be a huge issue. Now, for those of you who don't know, to malinger is to exaggerate or feign illness in order to escape duty or work. And the malingering hashtag is often used by people online to call out everyone from their friends to their enemies to fellow TikTokers and literally everyone in between on faking their illness. What the have we done to society? This tag is sitting at around 2 million views and counting. Couple that with the millions of people online who have no idea what chronic illness even is or how vast and varied they can be and how most of them are invisible, as it's referred to the onlooker and even to doctors. You can imagine what an absolute show this has become. Like, wow. But that's nothing compared to the more generalized discussion under hashtag illness, which is sitting at just over 2 billion views in the same time frame. Again, most of the people on this hashtag are telling the truth, but many others are accusing them of not being quite honest with their diagnoses. This has actually led to a massive discussion, not just online, but in academia, about just how many influencers may be lying to the public about their health, which is actually literally terrifying. Like, it actually makes me feel literal dread in my soul as someone who lives with chronic illness. So, as I quickly mentioned a moment ago, this idea of influencers lying about their health, this is called a digital fictitious disorder. Yeah, it's a thing. And to explain it, I kind of need to treat it like one of those cool Matryoshka dolls. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. You know what I'm talking about, like the Russian, like the nesting dolls. Like you open a doll, you get another doll, that one opens up, there's a little smaller doll inside, and you keep going. Sidebar, fun fact, but I'm actually just the top layer, and inside my deepest doll is a tiny little cat pulling all the strings. Stay woke, me felinia. Sorry, that was such a bad joke. Anyways, back to it. Fictitious disorder is best understood if we bring up a term, Munchausen syndrome. Yes, that's the old term, but it's still widely used as a term. I'm mentioning it for context. But Munchausen syndrome is when a patient pretends to be ill or deliberately produces symptoms of illness in themselves. Doctors sometimes refer to these patients as black hole patients due to the extreme lengths they go to prove they are indeed sick, when in all actuality, they likely aren't. Fictitious disorder, aka Munchausen syndrome, is in opposition to the other diagnosis you've heard of Munchausen syndrome by proxy, which is when parents or guardians essentially abuse their children to make them and others believe that the child is sick. But what happens if you eliminate the parent and you throw in somebody, or more specifically, something else to build this idea up? Enter to the stage, digital fictitious disorder. Come on down, sweetie, also known as Munchausen by internet. Yeah, way to go, internet. Way to f***ing go. We've really done it all. According to WebMD, this is medical deception that happens completely online. So like, I know we have some petty moments and stuff, right? But for people who genuinely are affected by this, it could be a very serious mental health disorder. For people who are faking it, they're blurring the line and making it a mess. So when we're having little petty moments and we're making a joke about the internet, just I'm talking about the people who are faking it. Now, fictitious disorder, according to Psychology Today, is one of many conditions listed in the DSM-5 under somatic symptom disorder, alongside illnesses like anxiety disorder and conversion disorder. However, fictitious disorder is something found to be deliberate, aka it's a known lie by the liar. This is in contrast to the aforementioned malingering, which is done with some kind of reward in mind and is not part of the DSM-5. Fictitious disorder is not for, quote, practical benefits, but rather for psychological gain. Fictitious disorder can involve persons producing real physical symptoms in their bodies, although the symptoms can sometimes be feigned. The manufactured symptom range is vast, tending to involve symptoms whose real cause is hard to detect and easily produced or feigned. Still with me? Per Psychology Today, internet support groups for people with a variety of illnesses began to be severely bombarded with myths and sometimes even disinformation, which, I hate disinformation. Quote, offering false stories of personal illness or crisis for reasons such as garnering attention, mobilizing sympathy, acting out of anger, or controlling others. What this means is that even in the year 2000, all that time ago, medical misinformation and people allegedly lying about their diagnoses, was so bad that an entire subfield of a separate condition was created simply to describe the phenomenon. I said that weird, phenomenon. Now, one recent analysis by Professor Phil Reed of the University of Swansea found that those pretending to be sick on social media skewed younger than real-life fictitious disorder patients who tend to be in their 30s and 40s. In contrast, people with signs of Munchausen by internet were often in their teens. Teenagers are more likely to pretend to be sick on social media. Fan-tastic, I need a drink.
Do me a favor, please. Get out of here. Get out of here, man.
So the question I have ultimately is, why the hell does this even happen in the first place? Is it Munchausen by internet? Is it malingering? Or is it something else? Like, no matter what the rationale, the truth is there's a massive audience online for people talking about illnesses, whether they have the authority to do so or not. Going on TikTok, you'll see millions of posts with hashtags like invisible illness, chronic illness warrior. And I think that those hashtags and communities are beautiful and necessary for people looking to share experiences living with whatever illness they're living with. There's even one that I've looked at, a few times myself called Spoonie. Now, according to an article about Belle Gibson from Women's Health, a marriage and family therapist named Jane Greer claims that people lie about illness for the sympathy, attention, and pity that it brings, like point blank. Quote, they have a need to be taken care of and are looking for more support from those around them. She continues by explaining that this changes the perception of the faker, having people surrounding them view them as strong for living with an illness when they, in fact, don't live with an illness. Now, Orlando psychologist Alan Keck even wraps it all around to Belle Gibson, stating that people believed her even if the science wasn't there to support her because, quote, a lot of us just like to believe in magic. They're referring to, that she magically cured her cancer with eating fruits and vegetables. Another reason this happens, at least according to Psychology Today, is narcissism. And no, we're not here to stigmatize narcissistic personality disorder. We're not talking about that. People live very healthy and positive lives with that and should not be shamed. Psychology Today is talking about the negative aspect of some people enacting or displaying some form of narcissism against another person. As they put it, quote, narcissists are known for their compulsive desire for attention and control. They often feel entitled to obtaining and maintaining power and the ability to influence others in all of their relationships, whether it be personal or private. The vast majority of those high in narcissism prefer exploitative relationships exist to serve the narcissist, fulfill their desires, and simply keep them and them alone happy. Narcissists master the art of malingering. Even though not all narcissists lie about their health, they are more likely to lie in general and less likely to feel guilty about deceiving others. Now, Vice confirms this in 2023 by stating, quote, becoming the voice of authority on a given illness and gaining the respective clout relies on being the first to latch onto whichever illness is trending. Invisible illnesses such as EDs are favored by scammers because they do not come with obvious physical symptoms. It is absolutely unhinged to me that there are people in the world who are like, I wonder what illness is trending today. Let me dabble. Like they're, I don't know, like they're sickness shopping or at the sickness restaurant. Like, excuse me, waiter, I'll have the cancer with a side of liver disease. Thanks. I gotta start a GoFundMe. They then go on to detail a woman named Carrie Jade Williams, a disability advocate TikToker who had claimed she was being sued by guests at her Airbnb property for having Huntington's disease, which is a rare degenerative disease that leads to an early passing. A woman that Vice actually revealed not only did not have Huntington's, but wasn't even a real person. Her name was Samantha. Oh my gosh, I just realized. Oh, there's gonna be fake sicking, that's not a word, whatever. There's gonna be AI accounts, because they already exist everywhere, right? And people, AI Instagram, they get millions of followers for some wild reason, and there's gonna be some of them that get sick somehow, right? Like a computer virus or something, and they'll have a GoFundMe there too, I'm sure. Where was I? Yeah, Vice, this wasn't a real person. So the real person who created this fake person, her name, the real person was Samantha Cooks, and she was a convicted fraudster that had previously stolen 1,200 pounds from a childless couple after posing to be a potential surrogate mother, the absolute worst in society. It probably bodes well that a recent Forbes study from a couple of years ago found that TikTok influencers are actually considered more trustworthy than conventional doctors, to the tune of 33%, which is absolutely horrifying. Quote, relatability to a shared personal experience and the influencer's personal triumph over a health condition make them credible to fans, meaning people are more likely to trust someone they've developed a parasocial relationship with, telling them how to heal themselves and what medical things they should do for themselves than any kind of accredited expert. Again, These are the types of people who are preying on the potential desperation of vulnerable people just hoping to get well. Like I have no problem with people talking about their experiences with their legitimate illnesses. I think that's a very important thing. Those are very important communities that we should have. We don't want to stigmatize that. But we're talking about people who are faking it. Or we're talking about people who maybe potentially have an illness and they're out there giving concrete medical advice as if that's going to work for everybody. It's one thing to say, here are the things that have helped me. It's another thing to sell an app and be like, just eat fruits and vegetables and you'll be fine. As Vice puts it in another article explaining the phenomenon of what they call sickfluencers, quote, the willingness to trust personal experience over medical professionals also ensures that individuals seeking both the clout and public sympathy that comes from having chronic conditions. I've never considered having a chronic condition as something that gave me clout, but okay. It can latch onto trending illnesses for a stream of positive attention and even financial rewards. One example that they cite was a woman named Hope Otto who allegedly used money raised from her fundraising to buy herself a Jeep. Super! And the thing is, like, honestly, when I look at some of that stuff in the article, like referring to people who have illnesses, like if they talk about it, it's like clout, that's a absolutely deranged, unhinged, shitty thing to say. That's just not the reality for the majority. If we just hold that to people who are faking it, then that's one conversation. But I also don't really like the title sickfluencers because I think it creates this idea that everyone who's making content talking about living with illness is somehow bad. You know, like people who like their whole platform is about living with illness. I never in a million years would say if someone legitimately has the illness that they aren't allowed to talk about it and aren't allowed to build a platform sharing their experience. I also wouldn't say if someone built a platform, you know, like if someone has cancer or ED or their liver disease or something and they're sharing about their experience, I also don't have a problem with them making a profit from that if they have, you know, ads or things like that, because they're human beings who need to make a living like everybody else. And like, you know, while my platform isn't built around, you know, my illness that I live with, obviously I reference it from time to time. I think having an open, meaningful discussion about what we're living with is not only positive, but essential, like I said earlier, to destigmatizing the idea of talking about things that are so often called taboo, shoving it down internally while dealing with all of these stuff often causes more mental health crises while battling stuff for a lot of people who have some form of illness. So I fully support content creators who do this and make a living making content. What I don't support is people faking it or selling snake oil cures to their followers. You know, like it's one thing for someone to, you know, for someone like me to say, hey, like I live with, you know, XYZ, here's how life is for me. You know, maybe some of you can relate and share practical tips in the comments that help get you through the day. Like, you know, one tip for me, I'll just give one tip for me right now. It's hard for me to bend over into the sink to wash my face, and I don't always, you know, take a full shower because I've already showered and then I gotta wash my face again. And so I have to kind of wash my face like standing up, and of course like everything just like pours down. I get like makeup and soap and everything down my arms. So I got those tennis wristbands, like the little sweatbands that go on here, and I wear those so that when I wash my face standing up, the water doesn't drip down my arms and onto my clothes. And it has been an absolute game changer. So if anyone can benefit from that tip, you know, have at it. Get them on AmazonPrime.com. Me sharing that tip is different than people saying, I had this nasty illness and I cured it by rubbing baking soil on my gums and you should stop listening to your doctors. Anyways, back to it. Why? Why does this happen? Dr. Ben Janaway tells Vice that if the influencer has Munchausen's, they may be faking illnesses to, quote, obtain public sympathy or empathy, and that online communities often give people a chance to interact more openly than they would with a doctor or someone they knew. Vice also cites a paper from Comprehensive Psychiatry that is literally about the rise of TikTokers discussing mental illness symptoms, saying, quote, there has been a well-documented uprise in popular content creators with self-diagnosed mental health symptomology on TikTok, and that rare diagnoses have a distinct appearance of being romanticized, glamorized, and sexualized. My gosh, just literally just throw everything in the dumpster. I can't even believe that I had to read that. This means that apart from the incentive creators have to fake an illness for gain, it would be a self-fulfilling prophecy that creates more potential future grifters. This is the society that we are living in. I hate it here.
This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently.
We see this with Maddie Russo, Hope Otto, Yan Bao Bao, even Jay Station. Look at the TikTok algorithm to see how easily something like this could spread via hashtags or interactions, comments, likes, the For You page. All the algorithm cares about is, the subject is being discussed and shared. It cannot accurately identify who the grifter is and who the person with an actual illness is. And it's this degree of uncertainty that can lead to some truly toxic behavior on the internet, where suddenly every disability or illness related influencer is treated not only with skepticism, but outright disdain. You can probably see why this topic is frustrating as to me. And I have a personal support system now, and we have a community here. We talk openly. I can't even imagine how awful it is for people with chronic illness who spend their whole lives just trying to get anybody to take them seriously, only to see little effing clout chasers like Maddie Russo, the Jay State, all these people make money off a literal lie. The kind of skepticism that these liars has caused has led to the creation of, internet watchdog groups. There's a community that we found that has over 150,000 people who claim to be exposing illness. People are faking illness, like the ones that I've discussed, but more often than not, people will wind up attacking all illness-related influencers, which is obviously not good. It's a troubling trend since, according to Vice, quote, because the majority of illness advocacy accounts with genuine illnesses and without are run by women. And while there are some male chronic illness TikTok accounts, their follower numbers are far lower. So this is yet another thing that disproportionately affects girls and women. And girls and women, we also know, are disproportionately affected by a lot of chronic illnesses, fibromyalgia being one of them, just, from experience. There are autoimmune disorders that usually affect women at larger scale. So there are things that women are more prone to having, and this is making people more prone to not believing women, as if we need more of that in this world. Remember, the actions of one lying influencer do not apply to every person. So this leads me back to the first sentence of a previous paragraph of mine. The ultimate problem is the hurt in trust this creates. A woman named Katie Baskerville wrote an essay about this very problem that arises from people accusing people of faking illnesses online. Quote, thanks to the unshakable legacy of hysteria, I don't know if y'all remember, we've talked about that before. Due to the unshakable legacy of hysteria, being believed by medics and the general population alike hasn't become easier with time. Historically, hysteria was a diagnosis aimed potentially at women, which placed the womb at the center of all our mental and physical health woes. This, of course, is now disproven nonsense, but it's where the term hysterical comes from, and it has haunted medical biases against women for centuries. This disproportionately affects marginalized people, specifically LGBTQIA+ women, Black women, and women of color, both on and offline. Those brave enough to share their struggles with chronic illness are being targeted by individuals and groups online who hunt out, investigate, and document the lives of sick people in hope of an aha gotcha moment where the chronically ill person is found to be faking, or so they hope. Again, this hurts all of society, honestly. Faking, lying about it, hurts all of society. And then it just emboldens people to think, oh, I'm just not gonna believe anybody with illness if I don't see it. If there's not a visible broken bone. And that's the other thing that's wild to me is most of the time you can't see. When you're just looking at someone, you don't know if they're sick or not, right? Obviously, if there's things that show up on scans, MRIs, x-rays, all of those things, then they become more visible to the medically trained eye. But still, the general casual public don't see that. Then there are so many illnesses, so many autoimmune disorders, so many things that just don't show up easily on tests. And it is a living nightmare for a lot of people trying to get definitive answers to what is going on in their bodies. And so when you think that there are people online who are just trolling and like making it their mission to try to prove nobody has these illnesses, it's just, what the fuck has happened? What have we done to society? I don't know. It's also important to realize that at the end of the day, many of the chronic illnesses on display, whether faked or real, are hard enough to diagnose as is, let alone even describe. You've got things like Lyme disease, IBS, MS, and yes, even fibromyalgia.
What it feels like to not want to get out of bed from bone pains and exhaustion and days on end, and not want to socialize or be around people because the anxiety and brain fog just isn't worth it.
Because these are difficult to show as invisible illness, that makes them easy to troll in places like these online communities attacking people with illnesses. Simultaneously, Munchausen's by internet isn't something that can be diagnosed all willy-nilly either, and shouldn't be, since in general, why would we want to believe somebody's lying about having an illness? Nobody needs to go out there and accuse people of faking their illnesses. The solution here, in my opinion, is plain and simple. It's for influencers who are lying to cut it the f out. Just stop! Stop lying. Stop lying. In the meantime, I think all of us can remain cautious in where we give our money, but we don't need to completely throw out the baby with the bathwater. There are very real people on this platform and others who are in need and will continue to be in need. It's just unfortunate that there are people out there who know that, will exploit that, and may even get away with it. The best thing we can do is know this exists and do what we can to have an open discussion about what we can do to stop it without discriminating or damning people with illnesses and disabilities in the process. A little compassion can go a long way. So listen, I just have to say this real quick and then we're gonna move on. So allow me just a little bit of a rant, We do this every now and then. I have a little bit of a rant. I need to get this off my chest and then we're gonna move on with the rest of the story. When people are actually living with debilitating, life-threatening, joy-stealing illnesses, like the real victims in this story, or like my friend, like people like me, it can make even the most knowledgeable people in the world, the most level-headed, the most put together people feel desperate. I'm guessing that a lot of you unfortunately know exactly what I'm talking about, and I am so sorry that you ever had to know that feeling, that desperate feeling. You go to 100 different doctors, try an endless amount of treatments, even when they seem to contradict what the other doctors are saying. And after all of this exhaustion and time and money and soul-crushing feeling of defeat, when you wake up another day and realize that nothing has made you feel better, nothing has helped heal you, you can become desperate. Often, honestly, without even realizing that you've reached a place of desperation, as I've learned myself recently. We can become so mentally broken from fighting every damn day of our lives for some f***ing relief that it breaks you. It breaks your spirit. I don't know how else to say it. Like, it breaks the very fabric of your being. And, you say, screw it all to hell, I'll try anything. And people like this, preying on people who are in that place of vulnerability and desperation, potentially, maybe some people like you, I hope you're not in that place, but if you are, I understand, I see you. People like Belle prey upon this, prey upon people like family members I have, prey upon people like me, again, for their own financial gain and clout, for selling literal snake oil, telling you to abandon all of your medical treatments and just buy my app and eat some miracle diet as long as it's under 5 ingredients. It truly and completely disgusts me to my core. If you've ever been taken advantage of when you were at your most vulnerable with your health, I am so truly sorry. I see you. You are valid in your pain, you are valid in your fear, and you are valid in your anger if you feel that anger or frustration, and it is not your fault. You don't deserve that. You don't deserve to feel that way. You don't deserve to feel so isolated. You are worthy of being heard, and you deserve proper and adequate medical care at an affordable or free cost in a safe place where people truly want you to find better health. health. This is something that I've been battling immensely the last while. When I tell you that 2024 has been one of the darkest health years of my life, like I can't even I haven't even talked in detail about it because I don't know how to process it, and I haven't shared much here, but I was in the hospital this year, and it was one of the scariest times of my life, being put in these machines for all these tests, and I just remember clenching every muscle in my body, just praying to God that what the doctors suspected wasn't true, and that there was some other less severe thing going on that I'll just live with forever. And we still don't have a lot of answers. I still have a ton more tests to do. Some of them are super painful, which then I just wind up trying to avoid them or putting them off, which is just plays this mind game with you. And I've been kind of frozen the last many months this year. It just affects every facet of your life, even my, me getting more content out for y'all. And thank you for being patient, but it has had an effect. I know, unfortunately, a lot of you can relate to that, and that sucks. And, it's a terrifying thing, and it's the type of hell that I wouldn't wish on anyone. I wouldn't, think about people who I wouldn't wish this on the worst, stupid losers on the internet who judge people like us, judge me every day for, why is she talking about health? Or for why does she take so long to make a video, or whatever bull people bitch about because they have no soul or compassion for people with chronic illness. I'm sure that many of you have people in your life, maybe, I don't know, your boss or your coworkers, or maybe even family members or friends or even doctors who know that you're ill, but they never treat you with the respect and care that you deserve for living with an illness that so greatly affects your quality of life. And it's not your fault that you have it. So let me be the first to say, if you have people like that in your life, all of them. Full stop, all of them. They don't know what it feels like, and they should count their blessings every single day because they don't know what it feels like, and they will never be as brave or as strong as you are. Never. They will never be as strong as you. You're a legend for surviving every day. Never forget that. You got out of bed today, or maybe you're still in bed, but you woke up. You're watching this, you're listening to this, you woke up today. You're here in some capacity, and that makes you a legend, and I will not tolerate people who say otherwise any longer. You were dealt a hand in this life, and you deserve the world, and I know that you got this. Even when it seems impossible, I'm just asking you to just be here. Keep going. Keep going. No matter what, keep fighting. Okay? I'm gonna cut. We're gonna take a break. Forgive me, I just had to get that off my chest. Child, I'm exhausted. I think we need a bit of a kitty palette cleanser. Excuse the tone shift. While we look at the very sweet, cute little cuddly babies. They have been so just extra fluffy and cuddly as we get into the winter months, and I just love them so much. So we'll get through this and then I'll conclude with my final thoughts. Be sure to grab your very own brand new pieces from the Unbroken collection and the Valid Ribcage collection, featuring the most beautiful birds flying up the arm and a staircase on the back, which is featuring lyrics from my unreleased song Free. The very fact that we move forward, no matter what that may look like, means that we're not broken like we thought. We are, in fact, unbroken. It's just meant to empower us. It makes me feel good when I wear this. When I wear this out in public, people read the back messaging who don't even know me, and they're like, oh my gosh, I like reading something positive for a change. There's so much negative going on right now. And I'm just saying, they also make the perfect gift for the holidays. Okay, again, thank you with all my heart for supporting me as a small woman-owned business. It truly means the world, and I'm just so grateful for all of you. I came from nothing. I have been through a lot of stuff in life, and thankfully, by blessings and support of people in my life, I've been able to build something and be here with all of you. And I just hold our community so near and dear to my heart. And I just thank you for being here. Yeah, just for being a part of our community. Also follow me on Instagram and Twitter and now Blue Sky, because yeah, we've gone to Blue Sky. for reasons. All of that is linked below. That's where I post most often. I have polls, I check in on life, do some vlogging, and I post opportunities to be featured in upcoming Swoop docs on this channel, like the upcoming Nikocado doc, which will feature a ton of you. If anyone is interested in being part of the interview questionnaire for upcoming docs, again, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Blue Sky. I might eventually just fully move there. I don't know. We're still doing Twitter. Follow me on Twitter, follow me on Blue Sky. That's where I make those announcements. Again, like the Nikocado doc that is coming up. Woo! I also have a new second channel called Swoop 2. That's TOO. Over here, we deep dive. Over there, oh, we don't. They are skinny dips into the unhinged dark waters of the cesspool where all bets are off. We have a lot of fun over there. It's much more casual. The videos are shorter, so welcome to the chaos. Also, a huge thank you to our channel members and to our Patreon producers. I have been revamping the whole Patreon page and posting some special extended videos. We've got behind the scenes content. Like I just uploaded a behind the scenes vlog of my new photo shoot so that you can come along for the ride. I'm also posting additional unhinged videos, giving you some of my extra thoughts. I call them the after school special or, detention, depending on the mood. Tons more content is coming to my Patreon. You don't want to miss out. You can also get your name in the credits of all the docs and videos that I post on both channels if you are a Patreon doc producer. So if you would like to have exclusive access and become a member, it is also linked below in the description and pinned comment. Huge thank you again to all of you for spending your time with me and to Raycon for solving our holiday shopping dilemma and sponsoring this doc. Go to buyraycon.com/swoop to save big for the holidays and get up to 25% off site-wide. That's right, you'll get up to 25% off everything on Raycon's website when you go to buyraycon.com/swoop and treat yourself, honey. You deserve it. Thank you for just being here. We really do have the most amazing community. I'm so thankful for each and every single one of you. I'm gonna keep this brief. Don't be like these people. Don't fake illness for clout intentionally, please. I am begging you, okay? I'm kidding, I know none of you would do that. But we are living in a really strange time and it's only getting weirder. And for a lot of us, for a lot of you, you're having to navigate this weird world while living in the shadows of pain. And it's not just isolated to physical challenges. Many of us are battling mental health challenges. And I just want you to know that I see you, that we see you, this community sees you. Your pain is real and you are worthy of healing and hope. You truly are. You truly are worthy. I know every day feels like we're climbing so many steps. Every day, climbing these steps, wondering when we're gonna get to the top and just find some type of relief, some freedom. One day you feel like you tumble down all the steps all the way back to the bottom, or you tumble back down halfway, and then you could just get back up and you climb up those stairs. And I'm just asking you to keep going, keep climbing those steps one day at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 second at a time. You are worthy of your healing. Don't argue with me, okay? I hear some of you trying to argue with me, saying that you're not worthy. You are. You deserve to be heard, to be seen, and to heal, and that's the final word on that. I just want to remind you once more today that you matter. I know how hard it is to feel lost in the darkness of feels like endlessly searching for some type of relief. And sometimes we look in places that cause us more harm because we just want a moment of peace. Trust me, I understand. You are worthy and you are valid in your experiences, and no one can make you any less valid. Not a doctor, not a family member, not a troll on the internet, no one. You are braver than you'll ever realize. And please just be here, just keep fighting. Even when you're out of breath, even when you feel like your mind or your body has nothing left to fight, just keep fighting, just keep climbing. Just keep climbing. I'm in your corner like a teal blue haired little hype woman, okay? I'm cheering you on, don't give up. And at the end of the day, when you're ready to smile again, and you will smile again, stay ready, stay petty, class dismissed. Swoop!